So what we're going to do is we're here to expose it, let people tell their story, and let everybody in the public see the horrors of the court system in Suffolk County, New York. Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs. Welcome to another edition of Long Island Backstory, where we film at the Cablevision Studios at Motor Parkway in Hauppauge, New York. Today, my guest is Mark Ferri. Mark has an interesting case. He actually was watching TV one night, and he saw a show that we did on support magistrate Aletha Fields on another case where she absolutely destroyed the life of a father who just wanted to take care of his children. Mark's not the only person that saw this show. I got several calls, actually probably more calls from this show than any other show that I did, of people who had Magistrate Aletha Fields and felt that she was biased, unfair, nasty, and basically an incompetent judge. What's different about this judge is that when we've done shows about other judges, different people call. We have men call, we have women call. There's usually more women who call, but there's usually not a huge disparity. I could tell you that not one woman sent me an email or reached out to me to say that there was a problem with Aletha Fields. Every person was a man. My next guest, he is not a police officer or a doctor or a lawyer, but many of them are public service people. So it seems that she has issues with people who are police officer types, firemen types. But the overwhelming thing is that she's just against men. And these people who are writing me and speaking to me is telling me, Gary, I just can't get a fair shake in front of this judge. And the stories are all the same. So I want to welcome to the program Mark from Holbrook. And I mean, the story is just horrible, what this man went through and what you did. As you told me on the phone, what got me and why I chose to show your story over everybody else's is because when you came to me, you said, Gary, all I want to do is be a father. I'm a good father. I love my son. And yet they did all these horrible things to me. I don't understand what's going on here.
I do. I love my son. Just unfortunately, I got in front of Aletha Fields and it's just snowballed and I can't get out of it. Not that I'm trying to get out of it, I'm trying to live my life and you know, not comfort, I don't know how to explain, with
some dignity and I mean, listen, it's funny because you stopped yourself, and I think when you stopped yourself, you said, I don't want someone looking at this to say I want to have a good life. Right. And they got us all brainwashed to believe that you're not entitled. You know what? You're entitled to enjoy your life.
Not according to Aletha Fields.
But you know what? You're entitled to. You're a human being. You know, they always say it's about the kids. It's about the kids, and I get it. But you're entitled to live.
All my rights are taken away.
Right. So let's go back. Let's go to the beginning of the story. So you met your child's mother, and you had this baby. How many years ago?
Not 5 years. I met her about 7 years ago, 6.5 years ago. We got together. We were together for a year and a half, and she got pregnant with my son. Right. And things were going well, and we just realized that we weren't meant for each other. It just happened too quick.
So how long after your son was born did you separate?
I guess about a year and a half after my son was born. So we were together for about 3 years.
Okay, and then how did it go to separate? Was it a bad breakup, or was it, hey, we're going to go our own ways?
We just had different agreements, and it just wasn't working out. So basically, we didn't come to that conclusion. We both kind of came to the conclusion we shouldn't be together, right, and moved on. Next thing I know, I'm in court, which is fine. I don't not to expect.
In court for child support. You're in front of a support magistrate, right. Aletha Fields.
I never had a chance to explain anything. She doesn't let anybody explain anything.
Well, so did you go in with a lawyer?
I went in with a lawyer, yeah.
Okay, and did your child's mother, did she have a lawyer?
Yes, she did.
Okay, so you go in with a lawyer, and this is strictly about how much child support you're going to pay. That's what you're going in there for.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so because she's a support magistrate, she's not really
Right.
a judge, although I think she'd like to become a judge, and that's why she figures the best way to become a judge is extract as much money from people as I possibly can. So you get in front of the judge, and really, there's almost no reason to go in front of a judge when you think about it, because whether you like it or not, I happen to disagree with the formula, but it doesn't matter. The law is basically that there's a formula, and you take the facts of the case, you put them in. You don't need a lawyer. It is what it is. So
Right.
you probably went into it saying, all right, well, here's how much money I made. Here's what I made the last 3 years. Here's what I'm making now. Here's what I should pay. I think it's 18% for one child. What happened?
I did that. I gave them my personal tax returns. My personal tax returns, according to Aletha Fields, were not good enough. They wanted my business tax returns, which was fine.
But what does the business returns have to do with it? It could say that your
Uh,
business took $10 million. If you only made $50,000, you only make
Well,
$50,000.
that's part of the problem that I had in the beginning is they based my child support on my business my business bank account, what my business put into the account, which is completely unfair because, you know, if I put $100,000 into the account and I spent $50,000 doing the jobs that I did, and after payroll, what did I end up with? $30,000 out of the business account?
Right.
It wasn't. It was based on my gross business account, not my personal. That's been my problem since I started this, because I'm a contractor. They think, oh, I have here tons of money, and it must be somewhere else, but that's not the case.
Well, listen, that's one of the things when people go to court, I tell everybody, here's the way it's going to go down. When you get into court, they're going to start talking about that you had cash, that you are hiding money, you have money with your family. That's just the way they talk, the way it goes down.
But I was with Maureen for 3 years, and in that 3 years, we had a hard time paying rent while we were together. So there was times where I didn't have money, and she was with me. So if I was hiding money, would I do that when
Right,
she
of
was
course.
with me?
You didn't plan that you were going to be in front of Aletha Fields in 3
right.
years.
So I mean that none of this ever came up in court. Like I'm talking to you, real life.
Well, I have to tell you, and I think I've sat in Aletha Fields' court, so I'm not just talking from what people tell me. And this woman does not let the man talk in court.
Thank you.
She almost tells you to shut up.
She did basically just tell me shut up.
So you don't get to tell your story, and then the other lawyer paints you into the position because she knows how to control what goes on the record. So you didn't tell your story?
Maureen's attorney and Maureen sat there for half an hour saying he owes this, he did this, he did that. I didn't get any time. The only way I could talk is through my lawyer.
But
and
she
my
could
lawyer
talk.
barely, said anything.
Right, but you're saying Maureen, your ex, she was able to talk and tell her
She
side?
was able to tell her whole story.
I mean,
She
that's
was
what I've
able-
seen from experience.
She was able to do things like, well, I paid for childcare and this, that, and the other thing. I couldn't even appeal the fact that she spent $1,000 in childcare, give or take, and okay, I'm okay with paying half of the childcare, but show me proof
Right.
that you paid childcare. That never came up. I never got the chance to see, Maureen's work schedule as opposed to
How much
the
she-
child care and how much she paid. And I always got the bills. She always sent me the bills. She's running the money, sending me,
Right.
but none of it was ever proved.
Right.
It was I paid this person that amount, and that's what you owe me.
Did you think it's a matter of that your lawyer sucked? Or,
No, because I've been to 5 different lawyers, high-priced lawyers,
Okay.
and they all told me the same thing. You're fighting a losing battle in front of Aletha Fields.
I mean, and that's what we see when people go to attorneys and they say, oh, you have Aletha Fields, you're dead in the water.
They wouldn't even take me.
In fact, I have another person who called me and said, my lawyer told me, don't even file your case in front of a man, in front of Aletha Fields. Take the screwing from your wife's case, and then let's get it out of this and bring it into district court, so that at least you have a shot in hell of
Yep.
having a fair judge.
The problem with me is I'm not married. I wasn't married to her, so I can't get it out of family court into Supreme Court.
Right. Well, this is district, like a small claims court. This lawyer said, anywhere but family court in front of Aletha Fields, at least you have a shot. Because it's all about evidence, right? I mean, I don't even know how she ruled on your case, because when you get your decision, it should have a finding of facts.
It was all based on, all right, he's a contractor, he's making money. I gave her proof. I gave her proof of everything. She didn't look at anything.
Right.
Didn't even care that I had it. I filed 4 petitions for change of modification for child support.
For a downward
For
modification.
downward modifications, and she rejected all 4 of them without even looking at the evidence I had to show that I'm not making the money.
And as I said, it's black and white, right? I mean, it's tax return, unless she's going to say that you're lying to the IRS, then prove you're lying to the IRS.
Well, it's not. It's supposed to be 17% of my personal income.
Right.
I couldn't even show her. She didn't even look at it. How could you base my child support on something you never even looked at?
She didn't look at it, or it didn't get into evidence?
She
She wouldn't allow it into evidence?
It never even made it past, okay, you filed denied. She never even took the paperwork that I had to even show that I needed a change of modification.
Right.
It never even went that far.
I think part of what Aletha Fields does is set people up to make the situation even worse. Because if she knows, listen, she's not a stupid woman, right? I mean, she's not stupid. She went to law school, and she speaks well. So I mean, I don't think she's a stupid woman. I think she's a woman with an agenda. From what I understand, she went through a bad divorce. She was married to a court officer, and evidently just is so angry, which a lot of us get angry over divorce, but she has the power to take it out on people, and that's what I understand is she'll do whatever she can to set you up. So now you get this horrible court order, which listen, if you could pay it, that means she was right. So could you pay it?
No, if I could pay it, I wouldn't be here.
Right. So what happens? So you got this judgment that's way more than you can afford, and what happens?
I've been fighting it for the past 3 years. I've been going back and forth to court. I've been to different attorneys, and most attorneys won't touch it.
But what happens when you're
because
when
I agreed? I agreed to it. My lawyer told me you have no choice. You have to agree to it.
Well, anybody's watching the show, and I tell people all the time, Mark made the absolute #1 mistake that everybody makes when they go to court, which is never ever agree to something, especially when you can't live by it. And if you do agree to it because you can live by it at the time you're signing the agreement, make sure there's an out that says, hey, if this happens, I make less money, whatever it is, I don't have the ability to pay, that I have the right to come back for a downward modification. Because what they do is these judges railroad you into signing this agreement. Your lawyer says, hey, this is what the judge wants, let's agree to it, because now you can't go back and sue your lawyer for doing a bad job because you consented to it. The problem is, once you consent, how can you go back and tell the judge, I can't pay that amount of money? You agreed to it. So from the judge's point, well, of course he should be able to pay it. So that was, not to rub it in, but we want other people looking to learn from your mistakes, and that's why it's so hard. If the judge ordered it, you could appeal it and say the judge didn't listen to the facts of the case. But
well, it had a lot to do with my business. It wasn't necessarily me. It was more my business income. I'm like, okay, well, my business showed a lot of money. What do I do? I thought I was kind of I had no choice. Basically, what I thought, and she stuck to it. And we, afterwards, I had Maureen agree to lower it, and she just bitter. She turned into being more bitter, and just it didn't happen.
No. But what I'll say is, listen, you're not a lawyer, and this is your first time going through this, so you don't know better. But you know what? The judge, the hearing magistrate, and your attorney, but even the judge has a responsibility, if not an ethical responsibility, a moral responsibility, to say, hey, Mr. Ferri, you're saying that you don't make this much money, so how are you agreeing to pay it? You can't do it, because what you don't know or didn't know at the time is once you lock into this and you go through Child Support Enforcement Agency, you're dead.
Wait a minute. But you guys, let's flip that over. If I was making $50,000 and I agreed to whatever child support at that time, and then I turned out, okay, again, next year I'm making $150,000, do you think they'll stop her from going in and get more money?
No, it goes up very easily.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't go down so easily.
So how is that fair to the person that,
It's not, we're not saying this is fair, that's why we're doing the show, but, listen, you can go in there, your ex can go to child support and walk into the building and say, I'd like an increase. They'll sit down with her, not only will they type it up, they'll give her suggestions, because I've sat with people, of what to put in the papers. Well, doesn't your son drive now? Doesn't he have more expensive video games that you didn't plan on him having? Doesn't he have more extracurricular activity? And they'll tell them what to put in, and it's free. Okay, listen, you can't afford it, but if the father goes and says, hey, I can't pay this anymore. I'd like a downward modification. Sir, here's the papers. Go home and fill them out. At the very best, if you push and push, they'll sit there and type it for you. It's rare, but they will do it. But they'll never give you the advice. They'll say, we can't give legal advice. So it's totally not fair. It's about extracting as much money from you as they possibly can.
Right.
So you go through child support enforcement, because what they do is they always put this through child support enforcement agency. And once you fall behind, I mean, that's worse than a criminal court. What happened when you fell behind?
They've already taken my car. They've already taken my driver's license.
How does that make sense?
They've put me in jail.
So how long did you go to? So you got sentenced to, I think you said 120 days?
I got sentenced to 120 days.
Yeah, I mean, that's just insane. And as we spoke about before, when you said, Gary, I just love my son. I just want to be with my son. And the courts say we got to do what's in the best interest of the child. How is putting you in jail be in the best interest?
And then what happens to the child support while I'm in jail for 120 days?
Well, it accrues, which they love, because now it's arrears, which they get more money from Title IV defunding from the federal government, because now they're collecting arrears money. So what you don't realize is there's an incentive for them to put money into arrears. You know, it just doesn't make sense, but it is there. We're not going to go into in this show. So you can't drive. How are you supposed to pick up your son for your parenting time?
I do the best I can here and there. You know, I mean, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. My credit's shot. I'm unable.
But just think about it. When this judge puts it through, and now child support takes away your driver's license. How do they know you're on Long Island? What, are you going to walk there and pick them up? And you can't do it. So they know that they're taking away and it's sort of like a systematic thing that they're doing. They're destroying your being a parent. How horrible. I mean, this is criminal. They're destroying your right to be a parent.
It's not fair. And, you know, I've been to fathers' rights groups, and there's a lot of guys out there in the same situation. And, you know, again, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of bad fathers out there, you know. I mean, I
don't know about a lot, Mark, because I got to say, people, it's an instinct for us. You know, it's an innate behavior that people mothers and fathers want to take care of their child. Mothers in a different way, maybe in a more nurturing way, but fathers, it's instinctual that we want to take care of our children. And I have got to tell you, I don't even know if I've met anybody who has the money, sees their child, and says, screw them, I don't want to pay. I haven't seen it. If they have the money, they want to pay. They want to pay.
Right.
Now, they may not want to give it to their ex, because they say, she's driving a fancy car, I'm not paying for her to take it on her ex-boyfriend. But if somebody comes, hey, your son needs new sneakers, or needs to go to college, and they have the money, who's not going to pay it?
Right.
So there's not a lot of bad fathers. That's sort of like what the mantra is. There are bad fathers out there. I got to tell you, we live on Long Island. It's a tough place to live. A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck.
Money's hard to make here.
You know, and
it's costly to
cost of living is expensive.
Right.
You know, just what the lawyers' fees are astronomical on Long Island.
Yep. And you know, so Aletha Fields just doesn't get any of that. You know, she's not a fair person when it comes to a male being in her court.
Now, you said you went to other lawyers, and they all told you
I
when you had Aletha Fields, they told you the same thing?
I went to a couple of very good lawyers. One of them was an ex-family court judge, and he said, well, you know, you're basically screwed.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm seeing when people call me. They say, Gary, I've called so many lawyers, and they all now, I will say, in defense, not that I'm defending Aletha Fields, but a lot of times on Long Island, what happens is you go to a lawyer for divorce, and they'll say, look, this is the Wild East, we call it here in Suffolk County, especially in family court under Judge Freundlich. But the whole judicial system here is just an absolute mess. They don't follow the rules. They do whatever they want to do. So the lawyers will say sometimes, look, I'm going to take your case, I'm going to take all your money, but no guarantees, because you know what? There's a bias against fathers here, and you're going to end up losing when you go to court here. So that sort of like protects them so that you don't give them all this money. And then you lose, and you go, what happened to me? You know, so now the guy says, look, the lawyer says, you know, look, Mark, you know, that's the way it is here in Suffolk County. But that doesn't mean that you can't be a competent lawyer. And again, to me, your lawyer took the easy way out by letting you sign this agreement. Your lawyer should have said, no, we're going to trial. We're going to put all the evidence on the record. If the judge chooses not to listen to it, we're not at the end of our road. When you sign that stipulation of settlement, you're at the end of your road.
Right.
You can't appeal it. You signed it. You know what? I tell people, as long as the judge is making decisions you're not at the end of the road. You have an objection that you can file within 30 days. If that gets denied, then you can go higher and you can appeal it. You can pull stuff to the Supreme Court. You can go to the appellate division. You can go public and say, hey, this judge lawyer didn't listen.
Right.
But what they do is she intimidates people. She's a nasty woman. I mean, I've sat there with her. Listen, body language is important. I'm in sales in my real life, and body language is important. And when you see Fields, when the father's talking, and she's sitting here with her arms shut, looking down, won't even look up. And then when the woman's talking, she's looking at them, smiling. You're screwed. Her body language says it all. This is a nasty, man-hating woman who honestly shouldn't even have her license.
She doesn't take the facts in consideration. She only takes the mother's facts. I have plenty of proof to where I am in life, and I showed her, and she completely one of the reasons is probably, I'm a contractor. She's like, oh, you're making money on the side, this, that, and the other thing. Okay, show me. I gave you everything I have. Show me.
Again, it's about proof. And listen, there might be some contractors.
She obviously doesn't need proof. Obviously, she doesn't need proof. I've been put in jail. I have my car taken.
And you don't have your driver's license.
I don't have my driver's license.
I'm assuming you probably don't have a passport. That's probably gone, whether you know it or not.
What's that?
Your passport.
Oh, I didn't even have one of those.
Okay, then they can't
but
take
yeah,
it.
they would take that. I would definitely not have
that.
that. And again, I agreed to it in the beginning. It was okay. I guess times were okay. It's changed. Things have gotten worse for me. My hearing has gotten worse. I do union work. Union work, I'm a liability on a union job. There's machinery running around. A lot of things I don't hear direction of things. So, it's taking a toll on me. Right. And I'm doing the best I can. I love my kids to death. I take them all the time as much as I can. And, I told my ex, Maureen, give them to me. I'll take them.
Right.
I'll keep them.
You don't give me any money.
I have a 20-year-old at home that I've had since she was 3 years old.
Right.
And she's a phenomenal kid, and I take care of her, and I do the best I can. She's not driving a new car or anything else, but we do the.
Studies have shown that, which I tell people all the time. Studies shown over and over again, money doesn't equal happiness. And in fact, there's some studies that show that when you hit a certain point, those people are less happy.
But I'm at the point where I don't know where to go. Right. I mean, Aletha Fields has just buried me, and she's continuing to do so. And it's just a matter of time before I go back into court again, because she's given my Maureen the power to go back into court, and just like when they put me in jail, my good friend came up with the money from his retirement and bailed me out of jail. And
Mark,
thank God for him.
Yeah, no, but what I've seen, not to interrupt, but what I've seen, I don't want to get this train of thought, is that what happens in a case like this, it's so obvious to everybody that she's against the man, that the woman gets empowered, and then they say, you know what, I can't lose with this woman. The lawyer probably tells them that they can't lose, and then when they see, people are intimidated to go into court. When they go into court, and then they see, I can't lose in front of this woman. So you know what, I'm telling you, she's going to take you back to court, because she's got nothing to lose. She's her advocate for her. And that creates another problem. Instead of, when you go to court, if the judge is fair, then the other person goes, you know what, maybe I shouldn't go, because if he counterfiles, it could go both ways. But it's so clear that this woman isn't fair. I use woman in quotes. I don't think she deserves that title. But they realize that it's not going to be a fair hearing, and she's going to come out on top.
Right. So she'll go back and any chance she gets.
Right. And I was hard on you about signing the stipulation, because it just frustrates me that lawyers do it. And I say, people who are smart, and you're a smart guy, why would you agree to something, but you don't realize you can't go back. But when you do go for a downward modification, a judge who's got common sense and does the right thing would say, okay, at the time that he signed this agreement, maybe he was making X, maybe he wasn't, but let's look at what he makes today. And if it's different than what they proposed you made at the time, of course you have to get a downward modification.
Right.
I mean, does this mean you're stuck? Theoretically, it means you're stuck for the rest of your life at this level. I mean, things change.
But again, on the other side of that, if she was to walk into court tomorrow and say, hey, he's making $50,000 more, would they change it right away?
Right.
Of course.
Right.
So how is that a fair, assumption?
Right. No, it's not about fair when it comes to court especially, and you know, I think that a lot of times, and I'm being tough on Aletha Fields because she's really one of the worst ones out there. I mean, we have other ones out there. There was something about Judge Budd, you know, being incompetent, and they said she didn't meet the standards, and then people go in front of her, of course she doesn't. She doesn't follow the rules. And then you have Judge Luft. I mean, this woman is hard, just loves putting people, and I think what they do is they say, you know what? I got to feed the system, and the more money I extract from people, and the tougher I appear to be, the more chance I have of being promoted within the system. And
But the law is the law.
It's not really though, and they don't follow the law.
But it's written as 17%
should
of
be.
my personal income. In my case, it's not.
Right. Well, that's why I said
So-
you shouldn't have even really had to go to court. You should. Here's my
Right.
personal
Here's-
tax return. Here's yours. Here's the formula. We're done. We don't even have to step foot in the courtroom. The lawyers. But why is there lawyers? They're lawyers because they don't
That makes
follow the
money.
rules. If they followed the rules, the lawyers would have no jobs, right? It's also, I mean, the CPLR is a stack. It's huge.
Right.
But they don't follow it in Suffolk County, and judges have absolute immunity. So even if they're blatantly against you, and say, I don't care, I'm not following any of this law. I don't like this guy. I don't like, man, maybe you look like her ex-husband. I don't know. Maybe you look like him, and I'm really going to stick this guy. There's nothing we can do about it.
She is.
Yeah. And now, so we're just in our last minutes. If you're looking forward, look into the camera and tell Aletha Fields, because you didn't get to talk in court. Tell her about
Aletha
yourself
Fields.
and tell her how you feel, because now
I
she can
love
see.
my son, and you know what? I'm never going to leave him and stop caring about him. So I'm not going anywhere, only for the fact that he's my son. But now I know why a lot of fathers run the other direction, because you leave them no choice. I've fought in court for 3 years now, and I'm sure I'll be fighting in court for a few more years. But the bottom line is he's worth every fight, and I won't give up. But that doesn't change the fact that I don't have the money, and sometimes I do, you know, work, you know, try and make the money, and I pay into child support. It's not like I don't pay. I just can't keep up to it.
Now, and your ex, because you know what, a lot of times, and again, we're putting a lot of pressure and blaming a lot of this on the judge, but the bottom line is if your ex didn't take you there, you wouldn't be in front of the judge. So if you could talk to your ex and talk some sense into her, because clearly it's not about the kid, because you're a good father, so she doesn't care about that. She's looking for the money. Is there anything you'd like to say to her, to Maureen?
And Maureen, you know, I've tried to work these things out with you. You just keep bringing me to court, and there is no solution, obviously, in court, other than the fact that you know, I don't know if you're getting satisfaction out of having me put in jail and whatnot, but it's not going to stop. I'm not leaving Connor, so.
Okay. I just want to say in closing, all these things I said about Aletha Fields, these are from my observations, and as I said, I have sat in her court, although she's thrown me out several times. I'll say more than 4 times. Aletha Fields has kicked me out of her court because she doesn't want me to observe the damage and the harm that she causes. But this is my opinion. This is what I see, and this is from my point of view. You know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and my opinion is this is a horrible woman who must go, and we all need to unite and get this woman removed from the courtroom. I'm Gary Jacobs, and thank you for watching Long Island Backstory.